Here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This is normally a pre-recorded video that I do where I provide you guys an update on the overall comic book market. It's something that I did, I think it was October, November, and then I think I may have done one in December. It's the Comic Market Watch. And because we're kind of sort of at the midway point of January, I didn't want to take additional time to do the whole pre-recorded thing, do the editing, and release that video, you know, another week from now. I have a ton of like family commitments this week. My parents are actually coming into town. One of my siblings is coming into town. And so this week is a tough week for me, but I couldn't take the time to do the pre-recorded thing, but I did want to do the live video because I want to give you guys an update on like how things went in 2018, at least from the perspective of who were the top dogs with the publishing, what were the best-selling comic books, what were the best trade paperbacks, graphic novels, etc., etc. So we're going to break all of that down over the course of this video. So I want to say hello to a couple of people here in the room, and I'm going to start with Closet Geek, who just dropped a $9.99 super chat. Brother, thank you very much for that. That is always appreciated, and it's going to go a long way to me getting one of those fancy microphones on one of those little arms that you see in other people's videos. So I definitely appreciate that, brother. Donations of any sort are always appreciated because all of it goes right back into the channel. So one of the things that I committed to is anytime someone gave a super chat of $5 or more, they could get one of those autographed photos. So Closet Geek, if you're interested in that, bro, just send me a message on Instagram and just let me know which one you want. If that is something that you're interested in, that's my way of just saying thank you for the awesome donations. And so I am also wearing a shirt, as some people have noticed, for that pesky day job that gets in the way of me spending time with comics and you guys. I have to wear a shirt, sometimes with sleeves, sometimes with collars. So let me say hello to Gorilla Grodd. How you doing, brother? Chris is here from Heroes to Icons is in the house. How you doing, brother? Glyson is here. WRX Comic Book Guy, how you doing? Candy Grand Man is in the house. Ramos is in the house. Sully Kings is in the house. Vu is in the house. All right, and Michael P is here. It is good to see all of you guys. And yes, it is Reggie, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder who happens to be wearing a shirt. So you guys bear with me. Again, this is something that we normally do as a pre-recorded video, but we're actually going to do it as a live stream. So I'm going to clean the camera there because I think one of my kids may have touched it. So hopefully that clears things up just a little bit. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys an update on the overall comic market for 2018, how things finished out. We're going to talk about the top publishers, where everybody shook out in the top 10. Then we're going to look at the top 10 comics for 2018 and then the top 10 trade paperbacks. So that is the rundown. Thank you, Snizzle Pop. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is how I earn all and pay for all this stuff back here. Is I dress up like this in order to do these videos. All right. So here we go, and I have to refer to my notes. I typed all this stuff up earlier today as I was heading out of the door at work so that I could come here and do this video for you guys. So the overall comic market. And we've spent a lot of time talking about what is happening in the new comic book market, the primary comic market, whether it is performing well, whether it's going to collapse, etc., etc. We spent a lot of time and a lot of videos kind of digging into that. So if you guys want to go back and watch those videos, if you missed them, if you're new to the channel, go back and check those things out. But the annual comic book sales actually increased by 3.3%. And that is 2018. That is 2017 versus 2018. The year is actually up 3.3% for annual comic book sales. Now, what I don't know is whether that increase is based upon units sold or whether it's based upon dollars. Because if it's based upon dollars, that's a little skewed, especially with the price increases that some comic book publishers have taken this year. So if it's based upon units, that's a whole different ball game, right? Because units means more people are buying comics, or yeah, more people are buying comics, or the same people are buying more of the same comics, right? So annual comic book sales have actually increased 3.3% in 2018. Graphic novels and trade paperbacks, on the other hand, have actually decreased by 6.6% from 2017. And again, I don't know whether that is dollars or units. I have a feeling it might be units, but don't hold me to that. I need to dig into the data a little bit more and see what I can discover. But basically, comics are up, graphic novels are down. Overall, the market is basically neutral, right? And so again, I need to kind of dig into the numbers, because if you subtract negative 66.6% from positive 3.3, you don't get neutral. But again, the data was saying kind of like a 0.6 increase. And again, I'm not sure whether that was dollars or units. The data that I had access to was somewhat limited, so I'm hoping to get a better data set to be able to dig into it with a little bit more detail. So what's interesting though is that graphic novels and trade paperbacks were really helping keeping the market afloat, right? It was really keeping the market afloat for, I want to say, like the last couple of years. But it's interesting that comics have kind of surged at the end of the year, especially after the really soft start that comics had in the beginning of 2018. It's at least good to see that number finished in the positive territory. So a couple of more people popped up in here. Yeah, Brett says I have the sleeveless variant. Very good, very good. The Mighty Comics guy. It is good to see you guys. All right, so let's jump into the top publishers. So let's jump into that. And anybody want to guess who was on top with publishing? From a publisher standpoint, anyone want to guess who was on top with this one? How you doing? Discovery Bay Comics, is good to see you. Chris, right off the top, you were correct, sir. It is Mr. Q, it is Regie Simmons. That's who's in the dress shirt. Yeah, so Marvel dominated in 2018, right? There is no doubt about that one. Marvel dominated, which I guess shouldn't be a massive surprise, because I think that I want to say that DC did pretty well at various points. I have something seriously on my face. It is wicked when you go live and have something on your face. Bear with me. I think I got it. All right. All right, so DC was actually doing pretty good at various points of the year, but I think that Marvel kind of brought some energy towards the end of the year, and of course kind of pulled it out, but then they also increased their sales price as well. So I think that is something important to take note of. So when you look at Marvel finished as the top publisher in both dollar sales and units sold. And so when you look at market share for Marvel, they had basically a 40.4% market share. And from a dollar share perspective, it was 38.24%. So again, both in terms of units moved and dollars, Marvel did extremely well. Their top comic, now the top comic for Marvel was interesting. It was actually Amazing Spider-Man 800, and this was the Dan Slott part run, right? The book was the top book for Marvel, but actually only finished #2 for the year. So kind of keep that in mind as I run through the rest of these numbers, but that's an important thing to kind of make mention of. Now, when you start to drill down into how Marvel actually performed, what we saw is that Marvel had 7 of the top 10 books for the year, which is huge. That is huge. 7 of the top 10 books in the entire year of 2018 were by Marvel. Now, what's interesting is that a ton of those books were actually Spider-Man books, right? So in that top 10 was Amazing Spider-Man 798, 799, which are both, and then of course the 800, all Dan Slott. Fantastic Four #1, which was more of a recent book. I think, what was that, like October, November-ish, that came out. ASM 1 who is that? The Ryan Otley work that in the Nick Bradshaw, I think. And then Return of Wolverine and Venom #1 were the 7 titles that Marvel had in the top 10. So Chris Baird is saying Reggie Dan Slott posted the list on his Instagram this morning. There you go. Thank you for that, brother. I definitely appreciate that. So what I don't have are the actual numbers, the actual units sold for those books. That I wasn't able to get that data, but maybe in a couple of weeks that data will be made available. So we'll see what happens with that. So those were 7 of the top 10 best-selling books in 2018. That were held by Marvel. Their #1 graphic novel was actually The Infinity Gauntlet. And this was a collaborative project with Jim Starlin, George Perez, and Ron Lim. So I think, was that #1 in graphic novels? Yes, that was #1. So that Infinity Gauntlet collaborative project with Jim Starlin, George Perez, and Ron Lim was the #1 best-selling trade paperback in all of 2018, which is huge. So Marvel had an amazing year, right? If you look at those books, the fact that those books are all in the top 10 goes a long way. Certainly with the price increase that they took on 800, because what was 800? Was it $10 a pop or something like that? So definitely an expensive book. Definitely went a long way towards them winning in both units and in dollars. All right. So that was DC. I'm sorry, that was Marvel. Marvel was #1. DC finished in second place, and you could kind of guess what happened, right? So DC was second place. They had market share. This is units. They were at 33.82%. So Marvel was 40.4, DC was 33.82% of units sold in the entire year. Their dollar share was 30.04%. So not too far off dollar share, right? Marvel was 38%. And DC was 30%. So not too far off there, but definitely a larger gap existed in the units sold. The top comic for DC. Anyone want to guess? Now this top comic was also the top comic in the entire year. Anybody want to guess what the top one was? Ooh, Ramos says it was Batman. Chris says Green Lantern. Keep guessing what the top comic, Sully 2 Kings has it. It was in fact Action Comics 1000 was the #1 selling comic in all of 2018. And I want to say I saw some numbers maybe in November that it was probably like 105,000 units for Action Comics #1, but don't hold me to that. I need to confirm that data, but Action Comics 1000 was definitely the #1 comic sold in all of 2018. And so what's interesting is that DC and Marvel basically dominated the top 10 list. Right? I'm going to get to the top 10 list, but I'm about to give you every one of the books, right? So DC had 3 of the top 10 books for the entire year. And you guys have already guessed some of it. It was Batman 50. I think I saw somebody say Batman was definitely in there. Batman Who Laughs. And of course, Action Comics #1. Those were the 3 DC books that were in the top 10. And Candygram Man says part of it was by all the variants. What did they have, like a 10-pack? Was it a 10-pack of Action Comics 1000 or something like that? Johnny Future, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the chat. I think Snizzle Pop is saying the same thing. Yeah, it was a ton of books, man, a ton of books. So Batman 1000. How close are they with that Batman 1000, Ruben? Are they getting close on that? I think I saw somebody kind of talking about that recently. So Johnny Future, I hope that you feel better, brother. March, they're closing in on it. You better believe that with the success that they had with Action Comics 1000, they are definitely going to make something happen with Batman if they are that close, right? And with that success, they are definitely going to blow it out. Anthony, welcome to the chat. Jackals, yeah, brother, I'll get back to you. The ASM 800 is definitely on the list. Now, here's the question, right? If Action Comics 1000 sold that many books, that it was the #1 book for 2018, the question is there any value in that book? if there are that many comics out there, and you know a lot of them went to CGC or CBCS or, you know, EGS or somebody else to encapsulate, you know, is there any value in that book? Is there any value in even buying? Again, I have almost every one of the variants for ASM 800 because I didn't want to miss out on that. So I have a ton of ASM 798, 799, 800, ton of them. And so Sully Two Kings is saying, and Chris are saying it depends, possibly in some of the variants. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. Because, I mean, that, again, someone else asked me this question before about what happens if you have a modern book. You know, is there value? And I would say, yes, there's value, but you just have to be careful, right? Because so many modern books are going to go right off to CGC. They're going to get that 9.8. They're going to be encapsulated. And the vast majority, right? Vast majority of what is produced and made available is potentially going to be preserved for the long term. So, and Johnny Future is kind of saying the same thing. So, kind of saying that only the rare variants. AFTA Comics says he hits the $1 bins at show. Oh, you must be talking about your nephew. Thank you, brother, for the feedback. I appreciate that. Already announced one cover for each decade plus a Gem League. Goodness gracious. Wow. Comic Lover Omega, no, brother, I'm just getting in from work. I actually have a family coming into town. My parents just celebrated their 29th anniversary yesterday. They're coming into town to hang out with me and my family. My sister's coming into town for a little bit, so I'm going to be under pressure all week. And so as soon as I walked in the door, I hugged the wife and kids and said, hey, I'm going to go live for a couple of minutes, and then I'm all yours for the rest of the night because my honey-do list is very long, let me tell you. So there's a couple of things I got to take care of to make sure everything is taken care of for the family when they get here. So it's good to see all you guys. All right, so we've gone through Marvel and we've gone through DC. We've also went through at least 8 minutes with something in my nose. So hopefully the rest of this video continues off on a better foot than the way that it started. So with Image was in third place. And I think Image has been in third place for quite some time, right? So Image is in third place. Four-way flashers on comics. How you doing, brother? I've never seen you before. Welcome to the chat. I think there's a couple of people in here that are new. Welcome to each one of you guys. Image was in third place, and Image was in third place driven primarily by their graphic novels. They did their thing in graphic novels. Let me tell you, they had no comics on the comic list, on the top 10 list, not one. But the graphic novels, they dominated. So Image definitely did their thing. So when you look at market share in terms of units, Image had 9.9% of the market. Dollar share, surprisingly, they were at 9.93% for dollars. And their top comics, as I mentioned, zero comics on the top 10 list. I think they were like further down, but they had 6 of the top 10 graphic novels and trade paperbacks. That's where they scored. And when you look at the list, their books are $15, $9, $15. They had $16. They made up a tremendous amount of ground with the graphic novels and trade paperbacks. So just make note of that. And so what were those trade paperbacks and graphic novels? They were Saga Volume 9, Volumes 1 and 8 were on the list. Walking Dead, Lines We Cross was also on the list. Paper Girls and Monstrous were the Image Comics graphic novels that allowed them to stick into third place. And I should also mention that the Saga stuff was, what was it, Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan's Saga, his writing on that title is, again, what positioned Image to do as well as they did. So there you go. Oh, Comic Lover Omega talking about Image over there. Yeah, good stuff. Good, more pouches. All right, so yeah, and I think a couple of you guys are saying, wait till 2019 with Spawn 300. That will definitely get some attention. Todd is super pumped about that book. You know, if you were on his Instagram feed, he talks about it. He is excited about it. Somebody else just mentioned Spawn the movie. Ed D mentioned Spawn the movie with what's his name? Can't even think of his name. the triple threat guy. So you know, that movie and that number should be something important, and maybe some magic will actually happen in 2019 for Image as it relates to comics, because they really did their thing when it came to the trade paperbacks and graphic novels. But we'll see what happens in 2019. Jamie Foxx, thank you, Bake the Snake. Victor, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. All right, so there we have, that is Marvel, DC, and Image, 1, 2, and 3 in terms of top publishers. The rest of these, I have very limited details. IDW got 4th place, Dark Horse got 5th place, Boom Studios was in 6th, Dynamite was in 7, and then rounding out the top 10 was Viz Media, Titan Comics, and Omnipress. Those were the other publishers to round out that top 10 list. So I did not dig into the numbers for those guys because their market share got down to like 2%, 1% or less. So that really wasn't something that we needed to talk about. So Sully 2 Kings, yes sir. Jamie Foxx is playing Spawn. I can't remember who else is in that movie, but I remember when they announced it, he was on Todd McFarlane's channel. Like, they did a bunch of photos and stuff like that to announce it. I think they're all very excited about it. So, you know, we'll see. I think Jamie Foxx can be a very talented guy. He's one of those actors that if he does it right, you will actually forget who he is. Kind of like Will Smith. In my opinion, when Will Smith or like Denzel sometimes do certain roles, you actually forget that they are an actor and you start to see them as that person. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that movie when it comes out. All right. So you guys ready to talk about the top 10? Well, I guess I've already ruined the surprise with that, right? Pretty much ruined it. But let's run through the top 10. So these are the top selling comics for 2018. Number 1, Action Comics 1000. Number 2, ASM 800. Number 3, Batman 50. Number 4, Fantastic Four number 1. Number 5, ASM 1. Number 6, Return of Wolverine number 1. Number 7, Venom number 1. Surprised that wasn't a little bit higher, to be honest with you. Number 8, ASM 798, of which I probably own 14 copies of. Batman Who Laughs, number 1, got the 9th spot, and then the 10th spot was ASM 799. So basically, again, 7 of the top 10 were Marvel books, and 3 of the top 10 were DC books, but that is essentially the rundown of what happens. So Junk Drunk says, Reggie should play Spawn. Sign me up. Give me the paycheck, sign me up, I'm on board. Oh man, brother, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, you know, because a lot of people have been saying the book's not doing too well. I haven't read it in a couple of issues. I still pull them on my pull list, but I haven't read them in quite some time, so not quite sure. So, but yeah, that is the rundown of the top 10 comics for 2018. Again, 7 of them are Marvel and 3 of them are DC, and I gotta love Chris from We Love Comics. Always a good time with you, my friend. All right, so here we go. Here are the top 10 trades and graphic novels for 2018. Number 1, we already talked about, was the Infinity Gauntlet. That was the Ron Lim. Who was in that one? That was the Jim Starlin, George Perez, and Ron Lim collaboration. Spots 2, 3, and 4 were Saga 9, Saga 1, Saga 8. 5th place was Action Comics 80 Years of Superman. Number 6 was Walking Dead, Lines We Cross. Number 7, I have Paper Girls number 1. Number 8, Batman White Knight. Number 9, Dark Knights Metal Deluxe. And then number 10 was Monstrous number 1. Now, one thing that I want to say about that is this list was a little funky for the trade paperbacks. Something wasn't quite right with the data. So I know that these are the right ones. And I know that Infinity Gauntlet was number 1. Spots 2 through 10 may move around a little bit. Again, the data that I was looking at wasn't quite right, but I feel that these are the correct books. I just think that the number of the order, the ranking order may be slightly off. So just be aware of that in case you see an update from me or an update from someone else. Just recognize that sometimes when data comes out, it's not the full data and there are some adjustments that are still being made on the backside. But I at least wanted to get the information out to you guys as soon as I possibly can. So again, just to kind of circle back around to the top, the overall market is essentially neutral for comics. Comics for 2018 were actually in positive territory at 3.3%. Looking at 2017 versus 2018, so it was a good year for comics. Trade paperbacks, graphic novels were down, however, by 6.6%. And again, I don't know whether those data are looking at units or dollars, but the data suggested that the market was essentially neutral. So I need to do a little bit more digging on that. But the market is not collapsing. Let's just say that comics are doing pretty well, and hopefully trade paperbacks and graphic novels actually make a rebound. What I didn't see in this data was I didn't see anything around toys. I didn't see anything around digital. So those are a little bit of some of the unknowns. But again, it's good to know that comics are doing pretty darn well. When we look at the top publishers, there's really no surprise here. Marvel was in the top spot, followed by DC, followed by Image, followed by IDW. That was your top 4. So there you go. Chris, you're a nut. You're a nut. Yeah, these data are not referring to Star Trek: The Next Generation, which happens to be one of my favorite shows. So I want to ask you guys, if you can, give this video a thumbs up. It goes a long way to spreading the word and allowing more people to kind of see some of the things that we're doing over here on the channel. So definitely the comments that you guys make in the thumbs up go a long way towards spreading the word about some things. So we are getting closer and closer to reaching our target goal of 2,100 subs, which will allow me to give away that cool New Mutants 98 book. As of this moment, we are sitting at roughly 1,888 subs. So we are getting closer and closer to our goal of 2,100 subs. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you guys haven't seen the restoration video that I did with CGC, please go check that out. It was, as people have said, one of the best videos that I put out. So basically in this video, we did a rundown of what is restoration, how to spot restoration, the impact that restoration has on your comic, you know, what the process is for CGC when they get a book that's been restored, the services that they offer. If you are looking for information on restoration, that video is a good place to look. I'm in the process of working with CGC on a follow-up live stream. Hopefully going to get these guys back on relatively soon. I have a second theme already lined up, and many people have also sent me some suggestions on things that I can include, and I've been working to kind of, you know, work those things into the conversation. So hopefully maybe later this month, maybe early next month, CGC will be back on for a follow-up conversation. And the other thing is, as you guys know, I release videos Monday through Thursday, always at 3:30. Today's video has already come out, and it is a review of a DC book. I've been spending some time reading DC books. Well, more like Jack Kirby books, but I read New Gods, which was good. I read Miracle Man, the original Kirby, which I thought was really good. And then I also checked out a more modern DC book. So if you guys haven't seen that video, swing by and check that out. And stay tuned, because I have some additional content coming out all this week. We're going to start doing a couple of cool things. There's a couple of like buying guides that I'm putting together, things to think about as you look into 2019 that you might want to consider. A couple of cool videos dropping this week and also next week. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right. Get caught up with the chat. Yes, Hulk Nuts, a couple of DC books. Yeah, so I read a couple, man. I read a couple of these things. We Love Comics asks, when am I getting Golden Age? Brother, brother, me and Golden Age aren't seeing eye to eye just yet. There's a couple other things that Reggie needs to focus on before he gets to Golden Age. So definitely more to come on that. I do have some stuff that I'm probably going to release next month that kind of sort of relates to Golden Age, but not in the way that you were thinking, Chris. CT Dental, how you doing? Mr. Q, how you doing, brother? He says EC Reggie. I actually dig EC, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I dig some of the EC stuff that I've seen. Stuff is incredible. Johnny Future, you might be right, bro. There's a couple of things that I gotta work on. You are hilarious. So yeah, there's a couple of things. So I still I have a book that I went to go see yesterday. I've been buying some books locally, you know, Amazing Spider-Man stuff. And a guy that I've been buying from reached out to me and said, hey, I got something for you. So I drove over, took a look at it. I was there like 2 hours. And I told him, I'm coming back for this one, you know, so I'll be back for that. It is not AF-15, but it is a really, really cool book that I'll be happy to have in the collection. But Hope Nuts and Hope Nuts, you're going to beat me, bro. You were going to beat me on that race to AF-15 because I don't think I'm as close as you are, you know. But I am definitely putting some things together. I've been kind of sort of employing a strategy that Chris has been employing. Chris from We Love Comics, who I absolutely appreciate. I've been working on a plan behind the scenes to put some things in place that will allow my acquisition of AF-15 to go a little smoother than giving somebody just a stack of cash. So you know, the goal is to continue working the plan. And it's going to take me some time, but I have a plan. I am working the plan, and I have every belief that this plan will result in me having an AF-15 in my hands, possibly by the end of the year. Possibly by the end of the year, with a little bit of hope and a stack of cash, we may make it happen. So fingers crossed. So I definitely appreciate every single one of you guys hanging out with me. If possible, I need you guys to have a positive thought for someone. One of the guys that I first started watching on YouTube like a year ago put out a video a few days ago, and somebody alerted me to the video because I had not seen it. And in the video, he basically said that he was going to be off of YouTube and social media for some time. He said that something happened. He did not go into detail, but you could see that thing on his face. You could see in his live stream that it was not good. It was not positive. And it was painful for me to watch. Anytime you see someone in anguish, it has to, at least with me, it gives me pause. And I don't know what this guy is going through. But if positive thoughts for someone going through something tough is if it has any benefit, I want to contribute to that, because you hate to see people in pain, and that's how I read that situation. So have a positive thought today, guys, for this person that you guys don't even know. Have a positive thought, because yeah, like some of you guys know who I'm talking about here. Michael P, Doug in Alabama, bro, I don't know what is going on. And you know, your mind starts to go down certain roads, and of course you try not to let that happen, but you know, have a positive thought. So if you guys need me, you know where to find me in the comment section, and also on Instagram, and email, of course, RegieCollects@gmail, RegieCollects on Instagram. If you guys need me, I'm around, and I want to thank you guys for spending a little bit of time out of your day hanging out with me. Take care.